I actually enjoyed Christians all my life and stood up for them when the academic world was brutally unkind. I mean, it is not a place that is friendly to Christian belief.
Hmm.
And I always said, what, you don't know these people. Everything that you're saying about them is not true. And so the amount of lies propagated in the academic community about what they would call fundies, it was brutal to me. I absolutely hated it. And I remember when I first started teaching at East Stroudsburg University as an adjunct faculty, there was another adjunct that came in behind me. And students would come to me after his class and say, do you know what he said today when our class started? He said that if you've come into my class as a Christian, you're going to leave as an atheist. And I was furious about that
Yeah.
because that's not what philosophy is. It doesn't shut things down, it opens things up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at one level, I was in my mind trying to keep everything open and even the path to God open if that was the truth.
Yeah, sure.
And, right. So I was always on the side of truth. And of course, that cuts two ways. At some level, in fact, oftentimes my students would come up to me after class and, you know, after even taking my course, they'd come back to me and say, you know, we're Christians and we've loved your class, but we would like to see you come back. And I say, yeah, maybe. And at that point, I had already begun to see some cracks
Hmm.
in atheism. Just as when I was in Bible college, I saw cracks in Christianity. I thought, wait a second, you know, there's questions that aren't being answered properly here on both sides,
Right.
questions that I just can't resolve. And so those were beginning, those cracks were beginning to open up. And I taught philosophy at the University of Pennsylvania, East Stroudsburg for, oh, let's see, from 2004 when I got my PhD. I think I started there in 2005 and on and off, but mostly steadily up till around 2013 when my wife was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And we actually ended up finding out it was a misdiagnosis. It wasn't Parkinson's, it was Lewy body dementia. But we didn't find that out until 2015.
Right.
So that was a huge part of my life moving forward, teaching the intro to philosophy 5, 6 times a semester to students. And in doing that, I studied Plato's Republic, Plato's Euthyphro, the Apology, and more as the years went by, I kept seeing Jesus in these things over and over and over again. And the stories of the Western world and all of the what C.S. Lewis would call the mythology of the West, right? Those things that all point to the Savior that I left behind. And as time went on, these things became more and more real to me. Not to mention all of the things that, in writing my dissertation, on the atheist existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre, I learned from Jean-Paul Sartre, and I also detail that in the podcast. All of these things started coming together in such a way as to sort of undermine atheism in a parallel way in which Christianity had been undermined for me in Bible college. And of course, my interest in science kept me studying, you know, all of the new scientific revelations, chaos theory, and the quantum. And so I filled my mind with all of these things, and I found out that even scientists don't have certainty about their beliefs. And I also found out that atheism, and this is the lesson I learned most clearly from Jean-Paul Sartre, atheism is itself faith. And that is that is something I get in trouble every time I say that with atheists. I get in a lot of trouble, and we battle that one out, and they deny it up one side and down the other. But there is no good way to deny it. It is just a fact. And I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't.